Hello. I'm going to make here a video kind of about sensory overload. I'm looking through my previous videos to see if I made one very similar to this. And there's the sound and the food textures, but nothing about the sensory overload in general, especially from my perspective. So, it's hard to describe this to what sensory overload is. I've seen other videos that, compile sounds on top of sounds on top of sounds on top of sounds to the point where you can hear all of these things happening at the same time. And that kind of works. But there's at least while I'm doing it, while I'm watching those videos, it's not the same because they're coming from one source, the speakers on the computer. They're not coming from their multitude of sources, and it's about as close as you're going to get in a description of what at least the hearing one is like. And like with the last video I did with the sound, it doesn't have to be a multitude of sounds. It can be one really loud sound that can set off. Mine's the fire alarm or the door slamming, because I kind of have it kind of echoes straight down. I mean, you can kind of see back there. The hallway just goes straight out from back there, and the front door's over there. So, boom! And the shockwave just comes right into my corner here. So, anyways. But yeah, there's visual overloads. And that's not like a color thing, because I'm color confused, I guess what we've all sort of called it. It's because if you stick the two colors next to each other, like if I have trouble, I'm like, hey, that's a cute little red car. It's brown. Oh. And you take red and you take brown and the color of the car next to each other, and I'm like, oh, now I see it. But, the colors independent on their own, I don't necessarily see. And I don't know, maybe my brain wants to get, I don't really like the mid-range colors. Like, you give me about 5 colors and I'm good. And it's red, yellow, blue, orange, black, and white. And gray. No pink. Pink and gray, screwy. Red and green and brown, they get all screwy. Blues and purples, they get screwy. Yellows and greens, it's like my brain wants to have definitive colors. When I think green, I think grass. When I think green, I think deciduous leaves. I don't think of forest or dark forest green, which to neurotypicals or people that don't have a screwy-ass brain, they actually are like, oh yeah, that's a dark forest green. I'm like, I see it's brown. Well, it's close to brown, but it's not. And then they get all arrogant. Honestly, I was having a better time seeing this color thing when I didn't deal with artists. I'm getting angry. And the artists, and they have to know the color's here, and the color's there, and the color's this, and I'm just like, ugh! The worst I had to do in science with colors is a flame test. And while that's definitive, for a lot of things, it's not the only way to test. Anyways, so, the visual overload is not necessarily a color thing. In fact, it seems like Asperger's folks might prefer to look at something highly busy on colors, because it's something interesting to look at and it's got fine details and stuff. The visual overloading is, oh, that tickles, watching people going to a party or a concert where they're pretty much playing one song at a time and stuff, and part of it's good because when the lights are down, I don't see the audience. But the times when the lights have been up a little bit, I'm too busy like watching other people and trying to see what they're doing because I can see all of it. Yeah, and it's like, and especially when I go to like a social gathering, it's like I gotta watch this person and that person and this person and that person and this person and that person, and that's the visual overloading that happens. It's not a color thing; it's a motion thing. So, and then sound is not necessarily loud sounds. It could be a whole cacophony of sounds. Like this morning, there was the screaming faucet of a screaming, barely running faucet. Someone sniffling from getting over a cold. The crinkling of wrappers. The ticking of a downbeat of music playing on a phone. The ticking of the clock that was not in time with the music. The sound coming out of my computer. The sound coming out of the television. The sound of the rain hitting the porch. You know, and all of that was happening at the same time, and I can hear all of it. You think, why don't you just tune it out? If I could, I would, and I wouldn't be making these videos. That's another thing. If I could, I would. You know, I know how to do it, or I know what to do. I know the exact process of what to do. It's either plug my ears or turn things off. And I'm not going to turn people off because you go to jail for that. So I'm going to turn the television off. I'm going to turn my speakers off. I'm going, if other things start getting more, you know, louder, I will leave. But that's part of what social things happen. You know, it's like, you know, that's why parties are so terrible. Let's take him to a party. He doesn't get out much. Okay, let's take me to a bar. One, I kind of like the way I think, to an extent. I definitely don't like getting drunk, to the point where I'm consciously knowing I'm not at my full faculties. That's stressing right there. Two, there's a lot of stuff happening in a bar, visually. There's people moving around. There's blinking lights, there's televisions, there's bartenders, there's people that you're with doing things, there's people talking, which gets compounded by the noise of the music that's playing everywhere, or the frat boys playing pool, or the karaoke bungholes over in the corner that aren't in tune, and whether or not they're supposed to be is an entirely different question. And not to mention, 6 other freaking conversations going on at the same time. So the visual thing can get compounded because you cannot hear who you're with, so you have to not only pay attention to the blinking lights that are all over the place, the people moving around behind you, the things that are on the television, the people doing karaoke. You have to read someone in your party's lips, kind of. And you have to kind of know how to do that. So it gets compounded. It gets noisier. I can't hear you, so I got to read your lips. That's another thing to look at. And then I got to start paying attention because I don't read lips very well, you know, because I wasn't born deaf, so I read lips this well, and then I got to start listening to you, and then I got to crank up the hearing processing so that I can hear you just a little bit better, but then I hear everything else better. Welcome to a meltdown. And the other 5 senses work just as, work the same way with, it's just kind of really hard to overload them. But sight's usually the first one to go, and then sound. because those are the easiest to get out of control. It's really hard to get, like, I mean, unless you walk into, like, Macy's perfume department or the candle aisle at some craft store or something, then you can censor it. You can smell olfactory overload. But it's usually a really localized phenomenon. And then there's the intensity of the smell. I can't smell I cannot stand the smell of eggs cooking. Apparently I don't even like the smell of cooking spinach. But I can deal with that one. Because there's a subtle undertone smell of that. I'm going to go into that. It's going to be kind of a long video. I'll section this up with annotations. Because I know how to do that, at least. And in the comments I'll have this minute and this minute and this minute is about sound and sight and smell, and I'm going to go further later. So, and then feeling. Technically there's only so much skin you have, so it's really hard to overdo it. Unless you have something that feels really weird. Like, jeans feel weird on me. That's why I wear a lot of jog pants and shorts when weather appropriate. Or I'm not leaving the house and it's really warm in here or something like that. So, and, you know, feeling, that's why it's like I like this shirt. That's why the last 2 days of my daily blogs I pretty much wore the same shirt in a row, because my other shirts that are conducive to, you know, not making me feel like I'm itching all dang day, and it's not wool. I don't actually get all that itchy from wool, by the way. But there are other things that do cause me to just itch. Yeah. Touch, smell, sight, sound, taste. Tasting could be too much. Are lights dying? I'll have to watch this video over. I saw the reflection. Anyways, so the taste. Some things, like most people, the taste of chicken is good. It's a nice taste. I could search my memory files and go back to the tags that this is what chicken tastes like. But it's been so long since, and I'm not even, it's honestly been so long that I cannot be sure that the data that I have about what chicken tastes like is still valid, considering all the stuff that they've been doing over the past 20 years with chickens in captivity and all that crap. So, that's that, and whatnot. Where was I? Taste. But there are some things, like to me, chicken tastes like rented wood. You know, it's got this acidic juice to it that, and it's dry, and what is left of taste is not necessarily there. It's a really, part of it could be a texture that's also with the wood splintery nature, mostly white meat. Dark meat's all slimy and gross. But, sorry. Thinking about dark meat made me gag a little bit. But, so, that's that, which I say a lot. So now we're going to go back to sound again, because I've covered what an idea of what a sensory overload could be and how they apply to each of the 4 or 5 senses and what are quasi-examples of which ones they are. But certain things. And it's just about my people watching and what I've seen people do when they're... Sorry, I had to fix the camera a little bit. Why... Anyways, that's weird. So, yeah. Oh, he's right there. Okay. Horribly distracted. I'm so sorry for that. Something was happening on WoW, and I was like, this should be happening this way. Anyways, so, sound. I'd like to see if people could do this and maybe give comments or just at least think to yourself about the sounds of things. Everything you do. Just everything. You know, walking around in high heels if you're a mom watching this about your kid, or if you're a freshly diagnosed woman and you have high heels, or you know friends of yours that are like, they love the little weirdo platform heels and they just I mean, it just clomp, 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 clomp incessantly, and it doesn't bother them. Or if it does bother them, they don't care because it doesn't matter. You know, this is how things at like a mall can be overpowering, because there's people in high heels and it clack, 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 clack. And then another thing, think about like your faucet. Turn it on really low. Now, if you're like ritzy rich, you know, and you've got like the best faucet on the planet, this isn't going to apply to you. But if you're an average person and you have like fixtures that came with your house or your apartment, then yeah, you're probably going to be able to hear this sound if it's the only thing. If you're neurotypical, you're probably not going to hear it. And if you do, you can tone it out. But when it's really quiet somewhere, like in your house, maybe even in the bathroom, don't turn any sound on. Just turn the faucet on really slowly. And actually, I'm going to go do it because our kitchen faucet does it. And hopefully the phone will pick it up. See if, you know. That sound is what I get because the water's not on that much. It was only about halfway on. But it gets that weird screaming high-pitched sound, and I should have not turned that light off. Anyways, so yeah, a high-pitched screaming sound that comes from faucets happens in the bathroom, happens in our bathroom, in my bathroom. You know, you just got to be a little conscious about the kind of sounds that come out of the things. And, you know, if you don't live with someone with Asperger's, you know, that's fine. You don't really have to worry about this, but just be conscious about all the different little things that can make sounds, you know, all over the place. And I'm not even, you know, I'll have to rewatch this video to even see if it came across. It probably did. That was screamingly loud. There's a part of sound that's like feeling, but it's sound because it's vibrations. I don't know what to put that in, because, I mean, yeah, you feel a vibration, but they get me all panicky like a sound does, which is part of what the door slamming does, because it's a big bang. But then the floor and everything shakes, and the air, the air shakes, which, yeah, it's sound that shakes the air, but there's still a shock wave that comes from that. probably not the best of things. So there's, kaboom sounds and fireworks. They're pretty good. And part of it is, if I know the sound is coming, I can prepare for it, I can brace for it. But if it's the only sound, I can put up a fair bit of resistance towards it. I'm not sure if this applies to kids. I'm not sure if they have the mental fortitude at such a young age to be able to, resist a sound for so long. Or if they're ever going to, because they're, to an extent, getting kind of specialized treatment from a young age. I didn't. Talked before, I had a late diagnosis. So I had to find my own way to deal with things without the help of, doctors and, when I was a kid, autism was like, you're sitting in a wheelchair, moaning to yourself, and when you go to school, you're in the special ed room, and you have like a handler and all that stuff. It wasn't necessarily a spectrum, and this was the 80s, so, it was diagnosable then, but, Lord, Anyways, so, yeah, like I said, I challenge who's ever listening here. Like, one day, on a weekend, when you're not doing anything, kind of enter, not a meditative state, but just sort of sit somewhere. Maybe go to a mall, sort of poop around, just sit and listen to everything. Listen to the escalators. Listen to the people walking on the stairs, the people walking around. Listen to the conversations, if you can. Listen to the ventilation. Listen to the video games. Listen to the pop machines. Over and over and over and whatnot. Guilty just hit 90. So, now, like I said, I can't really challenge anyone with sight. It's not that big a deal. It's really hard to do that one, because some people have, like, sight issues, like glasses and stuff, but it changes with the sight. It can, try to, while you're at the mall, to an extent, close off everything else and try to put, and try to watch everything. Everything, like stare in one direction and try to see everything. Preferably if you in a group of people. Ow, itches. Anyways, so there's that, and you might go, I don't want to casually say this one, because if I say it too casually, people are like, oh, the autistic boy thinks he's crazy. No. But you might think you're going crazy trying to see everything. Now, mix those together. Sit in the mall, try to see everything, try to take in all the visual stimuli that's happening, and try to listen to everything at the same time. If this gets seen by enough people, I may have just induced a meltdown in a neurotypical. Anyways, another thing that I was going to bring up about sound and vibration is the way people walk. Now, this takes a little bit of getting used to, because I had to watch a lot of different people to figure this one out. I toe walk. And I know that's one of the things about autism, Asperger's, ASDs, whatnot. I toe walk. I've tried walking on my heels. It doesn't work very well. I can force myself to in shoes, but I burn through them pretty fast because I'm too busy trying to walk on my toes. There's something I don't want to walk on my heels. Or, I've tried while I'm out having a smoke or something, trying to stand flat-footed. And it feels weird. Feels not normal. Like my body is wanting to desperately. It's not that it's painful to me. It's just not natural. And I toe walk a lot. All the time. Like when I walked over to the kitchen just now. My heels never hit the ground. And I sit cross-legged in chairs. Because, I don't know. There have been things I've done all my entire life that, I have watched the old video camera stuff from when I was 8. There I am toe walking. So, yeah, and I've noticed that people get clumsy. Clumsy in the morning. They don't have full control of their body. And this is kind of what's alien to me, because I've always kind of been able to wake up and clue in to reality. And even if I were a little bit clumsy from not having my full faculties ready after I wake up, I toe walk, so I'm not stomping around. There are other people that heel walk. I noticed my dad does that. He kicks a foot out and then drops his heel to the ground, and then seems to kind of like roll forward over it. And the next one, boom, straight down on the heel like it's a rigid right angle, and then roll. And I'm like, and I've known a few other people to do that. They just stomp their heels, but that's just the way they learn to walk, from what I've noticed. So, and I've noticed that a lot of neurotypicals don't have, reorganization. I've had to pay attention to a lot of things I do. Either because I'm interested in why I do things. Why do I do it this way? What makes it unique? If you heard that, I probably have a text message now. I should cut this video short. That might be the guild leader saying she's on her way over. But, I challenge the greater people that are watching this. Just try to be more observant about what you do every day. And not do it every day, just do it for one day. And notice all the random crap that happens. And, take solace in the fact that you can ignore it. That little tiny sounds aren't, sirens to you. And whatnot. So, yeah, almost a half-an-hour video. But I had a lot to talk about. Hopefully I can spark some sort of conversation with this. Questions, clarifications. What did you mean by this? I'm not quite sure understand what you mean by the color confusion, blah, blah, blah. Are you just colorblind? Whatever. That's what I explained in my intro video. I'm not good at talking about myself. I can talk about a subject, but I can't talk about myself. I can answer questions to nobody's end, but I need some prompting. So, there's that. Hope this video was informative.